5 balls to watch for Tennessee against Florida. And let's go ahead and get it rolling right now. And I actually, Caleb, would have probably gone with your guy at number 5 at number 1. I find it interesting that you got Wesley Walker there at number 5, a guy that you liked from preseason, a guy that you thought would have a major impact and already has. So good call by you. You got Wesley Walker, number 5. Why?
Yeah, so Wesley Walker is going to be key. Look, Florida is a pro-style offense, and they're going to try to do a vertical passing attack in this game. And so you're going to see Wesley Walker, and with the way Tim Banks dials up blitz packages, you're going to see Walker in the passing game, in coverage, and trying to make plays in the backfield. And he, again, I've talked about this a lot. We keep forgetting he was the highest graded returning PFF safety on PFF this year in the SEC. And he finished strong last year. And I think he's just kind of slowly.
Just take a second and say that again so it sinks in for everybody, please.
Wesley Walker was had the highest PFF grade of any returning safety in the SEC at the beginning of the year. A very underrated bright spot in Tennessee's secondary last year. He just wasn't the full-time starter, and it took him a little while to get going.
Yep.
He's going.
Where else do you get info like that? The guy's like a football savant. He's a Vols savant. That may be your new nickname.
Savant.
Vols savant. Yeah. Workshopping live. Here we go. You got Jalen Wright, number 4. I'm going to disagree with you on this list a little bit because I think that Jabari Small would be able to fill in any sort of gap if need be, if Jalen Wright didn't have his best day. And then you have Dylan Sampson. So just because of depth, I wouldn't have him on this list, but I do think he's shown that he is by far Tennessee's best tailback this season.
Yeah, I think any of them are going to run the ball well. I mean, Utah ran the ball well, slightly well, not great, but they ran it well, and they didn't have a quarterback in that game. And Florida still couldn't really stop them on the ground. So I think Jalen Wright's going to run it well. I just think he's destined for a big game. If you really want to say it, if you want to be honest, Javonte Spraggins is the key player in this because he's the one who's opening up the lanes. But I think Jalen Wright is the most complete back, so that's why I got Jalen Wright there.
Lance Pepper on our message board saying Walker is our best hitting DB. That dude hammers offensive players. Totally agree. And another post about Wright. How good has it been to see Wright seemingly lose his fumble issues? Yeah, I think he has. And he's playing more physical ball, and he's trying to extend plays. So that has been doubly good for Tennessee, which has
Before we move on to the
impressive. Yes.
Before we go to the next message that I see on there, I want to point out that the reason Jalen Wright was fumbling a lot, that was at the beginning of last year. He missed almost all of preseason camp last year because he was hurt. And so he was way out of rhythm when he got on the field.
Yeah, and I would say that real contact when you miss preseason camp leads to fumbles. And he really cleaned it up. Correct me if I'm wrong, towards early last year, towards even the middle last year. I don't remember significant fumbles after midseason.
I don't remember anything since after SEC play started.
Yeah, I don't either. And then my guy, Caleb. See, one of the things I love about me and Caleb, that sounds weird, I love this about me, is that we're willing to admit when we're wrong. Aaron Beasley was not one of your favorite balls, but now he's number 3 on the guys that are most important in the swamp. Why, sir?
Well, Aaron Beasley, I am eating a little crow. Jimmy was right. It was him playing out of position. Had a historic game against Austin Peay. Elijah Herring being able to start at middle linebacker is going to allow for Aaron Beasley to make a lot of plays. Dave, Tim Banks already dials up a lot of pressure packages. He's going to take that to the extreme this Saturday. Florida has a statue at quarterback who's used to playing behind those Wisconsin elite blockers, giving him time to throw. The blockers at Florida don't give him any time to throw. Tim Banks is, I'm telling you, he's sitting back just like ready to eat. He's ready to go ballistic. And Aaron Beasley will be used on all of those. And I could see some history guys in this one. He made history last week. You could see 18 times. You might see some water boy Bobby Boucher stats from Aaron Beasley this weekend.
Nice. Now, everybody. Oh, and I've got the D. Williams message up. I'm sorry, I put the wrong one. Tennessee should use D. Williams on offense. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that there. I got it fixed. I put the wrong one up. Sorry. All right. So this is where Caleb, to me, gets a little crazy, a little bit insane, because wouldn't you have Joe Milton number 1?
Hey now.
But instead, Caleb has Joe Milton, 3rd, junior, Esquire, senior, the 8th, at 2.
That's crazy.
How's he not number 1, Caleb Calhoun?
Well, again, Utah proved you can beat Florida without good quarterback play. And Tennessee has a better running game than Utah. So I think if Joe Milton is off again, they can just stick to the run game and do those little bubble screens consistently. And barring fumbles and holding penalties like the last game, I still think Florida would have a hard time stopping them. And then it would come down to whether or not Tennessee's defense can get the stop. And how they get the stop is the number 1 guy on this list.
The number 1 guy is, would you like a drum roll for the number 1 guy? The best I've got. Number 1. He speaks Spanish because he can roll his R's. He's Caleb Calhoun. Who's number 1?
The guy that you guys say I'm crazy, but y'all are the ones calling him the next Leonard Little. So James
It's
Pierce
not
Jr.
me. It's a guy named Fred White. That, man, you don't want him mad at you. I'll tell him that you called him out, and then it's trouble.
Well, it's James Pierce Jr. He has had 3 sacks through 2 games already. And you could go with Tyler Barron or Roman Harrison here, but like, it's just everything screams James Pierce is the new breakout superstar. And Florida's offensive tackles are the worst tackles in the SEC. Tim Binks is going to dial up a ton of pressure packages. That's why I called with Aaron Beasley. You're going to see the same historic performance from Pierce. And it doesn't even matter if Tennessee's offense isn't moving the ball. The key, they can still win this game if James Pierce has a Derek Barnett type of performance in an SEC game. 3 tackles for a loss, 2 sacks, a forced fumble, maybe recovers 1 for a touchdown. Who knows? I'm just saying, watch out. James Pierce might make some history this weekend too.
We had this question from Smoky Mountain Red on the message board. Dave, over under 12 screens this weekend. I'm going to go under, and here's why, Smoky Mountain Red. I think you're going to see a lot of soft coverage in which guys are going to play back. That means they have their eyes looking forward as opposed to man-to-man coverage, and you got to keep your eyes on the receiver. So I think screens won't be as effective, and I don't think Joe Milton throws that ball incredibly well. I do think it's part of the arsenal, but I wouldn't be surprised because of the way teams have played Tennessee to this point if Tennessee relies more on some other pass plays over the middle that weren't completed. But again, 2 or 3 of those that are completed keeps the chains moving over the middle, the slants and the digs and those sort of passes. So I don't think you'll see a ton of screens, but you very well might. I mean, we saw some of those last year, but we shall see. Smoky Mountain Red says if they stack the box, screens will be 50-50. Will Florida stack the box? That's interesting. And you certainly wouldn't have done that last year. Do you do it this year? That's why it is a different team. Do you think they stack the box this year, or do they respect Tennessee downfield? Because so far, partly because of a Ramel Keaton drop, which could have changed the way that Tennessee was defended against Austin Peay. Well, they played back anyway. But if you hit one of those, that one to Ramel Keaton, it scares people. It sounds weird, but I don't think Tennessee scares people deep yet until they prove it, which this might be the year or the week, excuse me.
The reason they might stack the box, yes, Tennessee screens worked a lot this past weekend. They picked up a couple of penalties on them that killed drives. And more importantly than that, Dave, we can't be sold on the key to these screens that they're stacking the box is Tennessee's receivers have to block. We can't be sold on that ability just because of what they did against Austin Peay. And I think if you're Florida, that's what you test, right? You test, can their receivers block on the outside? Because if if Brew McCoy and Dante Thornton and Ramel Keaton aren't blocking well, or Squirrel White's not blocking well, those bubble screens, it doesn't matter if they stack the box and get called on the screen. They're still going to beat you. They're still going to stop it. So Tennessee has got – that's actually a big key that I didn't think of until that question came up. How good at blocking, pass blocking, are Tennessee's receivers? And maybe you know the answer to that, Dave. I don't know.
How good are Tennessee's receivers in blocking?
Pass blocking, yeah. Or blocking on screens, yeah.
I think they're very physical, good blockers as a whole. I mean, whether it's against the run or passing, it's more difficult to do in space, but I think they're athletic and they do that. I think they take a lot of pride in that, which is saying something for a air quote passing offense, even though they run the football.